screen, everybody. Questions for Coach? We'll start with Justin.
One of the guys we're about to talk to is Giovanni Richardson. What do you think of his freshman year and how he settled in as a receiver? What's the next year for him?
Really proud of his perseverance, obviously having walked in with the injury that he had and missing spring and a lot of summer. So that was tough on him. But the focus that he had in the classroom right away gave him the opportunity to line up correctly and give him his chance to play early. Naturally, those guys, when they come in, they have very high expectations. And so, you try to find a way to balance, playing time along with, their expectations and, what they really wanted to get done for their season. I think when we look back at it, I think Giovanni would tell you that he's I'm proud of the way his freshman year went. I'm the same way. I'm really excited about his progression in spring and then, the winter rather, and then where we are in spring right now. So very, very happy with where he's at.
You've mentioned in the past his football IQ, his football smarts. In your opinion, what makes him such a smart football player?
The time he puts in. He really does well with spending the extra time in the classroom. And then just his, he's played a lot of football, and the experience is something that you can't, really simulate or, there's nothing you can, take for that other than the fact that he's played a lot. And then, his want to is really high. He has a care factor that I think is extremely high and wants to be really good. And with that, comes, eagerness to want to learn and really opening himself up to the coaching.
Jason and then Lindsay.
With the additions of DJ and Jordan Ross and all that, how important was it to make sure you increase the speed of the room or just added speed in general?
Very important. Probably because the guys that we lost with, Giovani and then Luke Wysong, Chris Hudson, they were all, fast guys that can run. So being able to try to find a way to, get other guys in here that can help in that space. We really do believe in the guys that we've already had in the room. Obviously, the retention was very important to get the guys back that we have now, and then to add those other few pieces were really big for us. I'm really happy with their progression. There's a lot of learning happening right now, a lot of lessons that are taking place, but there's no doubt in my mind that they'll give us an opportunity this year to be good.
When you evaluate guys like that maybe didn't put up big numbers at their previous school, what's the biggest thing that you're looking at in terms of fit and all that?
You really got to try to find a way to get a hold of that, that tape, that practice tape, really try to see, how they practice. Well, you talk to coaches and see what the practice habits were about. Very fortunate to have good relationships with a lot of the coaches that, the places they came from. So we were able to, vet them really well to try to find out what kind of kid they were, what kind of player they were. And then obviously you're just taking a shot in the dark as well. There's no real way to find out until they get here.
Noah said that this receiver room is probably the deepest and best he's had. How would you describe the receiver room for this season?
I would describe this room as similar to where I was last year at this point. I would say they're a good group and they're growing. I think we have I thought the retention of the guys that were here last year, Mizell, Gio, Trey, Chris Hunter, Brandon Phelps, all those guys that, really played football for us in the last couple seasons, really give us an edge. Coming in the second year, having the same offensive coordinator, them have already had played in it. I think that really gives us a place to be able to pick up where we left off. And then adding those other additions and already having a strong culture within the room really gives the room a chance to really, connect quickly and, really find that healthy competition within there so they can push each other. So, I'm excited where we're going. Noah knows best when it comes to those things. So, I'm happy to hear that.
Justin and then Juan.
We've heard from Coach Brandon and other players that Brandon Phelps had probably the best winter out of anybody. What was that like from your perspective?
He took it very personal. He just wanted to really find a way to, get better individually. So immediately post bowl game, you saw a different Brandon. He was spending extra time in the weight room. He was in the offices more. but really focused on trying to lean his body out and, put on the muscle that he needed. And there's no doubt that he had probably the best spring out the group, our winner out the group. The numbers increased, his strength increased, speed got better. So really, really happy with Brandon's, focus on wanting to be the best version of himself. And I know he's going to help us this year win games.
Chris Hunter is a guy that's been here for a long time. What's the next step for him, considering it's his last year?
Yeah, it's just time for Chris to, take a hold of the reins of being the leader within the room and, a guy that I can lean on to push this group if I'm not around for some reason, and with the details, and also, holding guys accountable. Not only that, but him individually, he knows there's still growth there for him. He's missed a little time last season, and so I know he was very dedicated this winter to really try to find the imbalances within his strength to be able to make sure he doesn't miss any time. We're really seeing a different Chris Hunter when it comes to that too. He seems to be fresh every practice. He's finishing every practice, and he's back to where he can just kind of run all day, and that's what you want him to be.
A lot of the pieces that you added this time around were on the younger side compared to last year when a lot of the guys were, on their senior years. What was the approach? How was it different this year when it came time to add pieces?
I thought the retention of the guys that we already had in the room really gave us an opportunity to go out and find, some unique pieces. And then not only that, but the addition of the two freshmen with Caleb Smith and RJ as well. So you try to find guys that are going to be a little bit different than the guys that are in your room. I thought DJ Jordan brings us a little bit of that. I thought his competitiveness, he's very unique with the ability to be able to drop his weight, change direction, and very fast with the ball in his hand. And he's a competitive by nature, so having that piece in the room really boosts that competitiveness within the room. And then Rodney Gallagher, just a super savvy vet, a guy that, immediately when he stepped on the campus and, I knew he was a person that we'd be able to trust, and you're seeing him play at that level. Picked up the offense extremely fast, and also knows his role. And so he's going to play and help us this year. And then, Jordan Ross, I thought, just another unique piece with having a lot of speed, just 10,500 meter runner. Played a bunch of special teams, as well as offense. So, has snaps in college. So I thought the combination of those three really give us an edge.
Justin and Juan.
With RJ and Caleb Smith, what was, just how do you look at just their careers in high school and how you prepare to, develop them this year?
Excited about those two. RJ had a very good winter as well. When he got here, he was able to put on, I think like 20 pounds of muscle and get his body in a different type of shape. He's a kid who's eager to learn as well. He's consistently in my office trying to learn the offense as fast as possible, understanding that's the fastest way for him to get on the football field. And then Jet is just a very polished, a young receiver that has just a plethora of tools already that we're able to work with, and he has a unique toughness to him for his size. And then obviously, next to Mizell, he's probably the second fastest in the room. We'll find out who's the fastest between those two. But and he comes with the program he comes from is very competitive, and they're also very disciplined. And so it was very easy for him to adjust with, being on time and time schedules and, CATS appointments and things like that. So I'm very pleased with both the freshmen. Excited to see how they help us this year.
The guys that you added in the portal, did you have a prior relationship to them when they were coming out of high school, and do you think maybe that helped you guys land those guys?
Did not. Okay. I did not at all. We there was other factors of guys that we knew had relationships with them. And then it was just more or less us vetting the situation. And, obviously Rodney was the first piece we added. And I thought Rodney just, his track record spoke for itself. He was a great piece to add in what we needed in that space, losing Luke and Javen in that spot. So I thought that was the first priority, making sure that, Gio, had a guy that was in there with him just in case if things happen to Gio.
You kind of just talked about Rodney, but what does he kind of bring to the receiver room, but also to the
the offense as a whole?
Yeah, he's savvy, man. Like he's played a lot of football. You know, he's good at punt returns. You know, he has great technique back there, so it'll help us in that space as well. But I think there's a subtleness to him that allows him to be a leader right away that the boys gravitate to. So it's great to see another senior piece that has already been established. The other benefit of that is having a guy who's played within our conference and understands what this conference requires, and who's actually, you know, scored touchdowns and, you know, competed at a high level in this conference. So his experience is really, really big. I'm very pleased with having him.
I have a couple for you. Blocking, how do you think that went for your unit last year, and how do you think that carries into this year?
I thought we put a lot of emphasis on the perimeter blocking. You know, we have periods within practice that are strictly focused on that piece. In this offense, there's a lot of times where the receivers service each other within that space. And what I mean by that, there'll be 3 receivers split out, and there's 2 of them blocking for 1. So we really need to take that serious. I thought we did a good job with that. There's definitely growth in that space as well. But I love our effort towards it, and then I love the want to. And that's the biggest thing for, you know, receivers. A lot of receivers just, they don't have the want to. They have no willingness to want to block. I think our boys take that personal, and they want to have a piece of that.
And then what has impressed you about Spivey's growth from the time he got here last year till now?
He's consistently, gradually growing. You know, I like the fact that there hasn't been a plateau for him yet. I think there's these small increments that are happening in his world that are allowing him to continue to experience success, but at the same time, there's still corrections within that he understands that there's still growth there. And that's probably one of the worst things that kids could have is, you know, success early, and then, you know, they feel like complacent. Spivey's really focused on wanting to get better. And so, you know, I appreciate his eagerness in that space. He's spending more time in the office. There's a lot of layers to our offense, I think, and so he's in this next step. He's learning to start to peel those back a little bit. He's asking more questions. He wants to know more about what other guys are doing on the football field, not only just his position. And so there's starting to be a little bit more of an understanding, and I think that's going to let him kind of settle in and play even faster.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Yep. My pleasure.
Thanks, everybody. Questions for our student athletes? We'll start with Justin.
Good to see you guys. Chris, it's your last year here at Arizona. How do you reflect on the last few years, and how do you look ahead to what's next?
I really say start off by always being grateful. You know, thanking the Lord that I had the opportunity to be able to spend my time in Tucson. You know, it's been amazing. But also knowing, like, it's the last year, you know, I just want to put it all out on the line and use everything I learned in the past and all the stuff I prepared myself to do to make this year a great one, you know.
And how would you describe just the adversity that you've had to overcome, just coming here, settling into the offense, the multiple coaching changes, all that?
You know, I'd say just my whole kind of story has been about adversity. You know, I was recruited super late to come here, coming in the first place. So I'm already starting, you know, playing catch up and, you know, starting behind with the old staff. You know, working through that, the growing pains of all that, not really seeing the field. And then obviously Coach Brennan coming in and with Bobby and instilling confidence into me. That's a whole new, you know, offense you got to learn. And then obviously Coach Dagey coming in last year, a new offense. But through all that, I kind of just stayed true to myself, I'd say. You know, stayed in my craft, used the relationships, you know, I started making with the guys coming in to really push me forward and, you know, push me in that direction. And at the end of the day, when you have all those things working, it's not too hard to have tunnel vision and just work through it.
Chris, Coach Wade just said he wants you to take the room by the reins and be that leader. Do you think you've done that? And how do you think your leadership affects the rest of the room?
Yeah, I mean, you know, last year, Coach Bobby did a great job, I'd say, to kind of try to start nudging me in that role to kind of be the leadership guy in the room. And then especially this year, pretty sure I'm like the oldest guy in the room right now. So, you know, every day he pretty much talk to me, try to push the guys and all that. So I feel like, you know, I'll try to step into that role. I have a lot of help with the guys, you know. They don't try to put it all on me and make it hard. You know, they make it pretty easy for me. But, you know, I embrace that, knowing, you know, if that's what I have to do, I'm down to do it.
Giovanni, what prompted you to go by your full first name?
I've been called Gio my whole life. So, like, my mom was like, why don't you, like, when I was young, Gio was smooth because it was, like, a kid nickname, Gio, so I was okay with it. But when I felt like I getting older, like, Gio was just, like, I've been called it when I was young. So now that I'm grown, I'll probably, like to hear Giovanni. But, like, all my friends, people like y'all can all still call me Gio. Like, I have no problem hearing Gio, but it was for the announcers and, like, just when you look my name up, it's Giovanni for my mom and stuff because she likes Giovanni, obviously.
Okay. And what did your mom think about you making that change?
I told her I was going to do it, but I didn't tell her when I was going to do it. So I planned on doing it, like, mid-season last year. But I was like, it's not that big of a deal, so, like not do it. So then she probably forgot about it. And then I sent the roster picture of it saying Giovanni and then Rockford, where I'm from. And she, like, hearted it and was, like, super excited. So I guess she was happy about that.
Is there any significance behind your first name?
Not that I know of. It's just an Italian Giovanni name, so.
Giovanni, when you catch a record-breaking touchdown from the open field, is there any significance for you, or is it just another one of those, I caught the ball, we scored? Good.
To be honest, we really talked about it the whole week. Like, I was just joking with him the whole week of that practice. Like, bro, you're going to throw that touchdown to me. Like, we're going to break the record. We're going to break the record. We're going to break the record. And then when he threw it and I caught it, I was just like, all right, smooth. And then while we're running off the field, he's like, bro, you caught it. Like, I broke the record with that one. So then it was like, okay, dang, we really did it. But for me, to be honest, it was just like a normal catch. I low-key forgot that it was even the record until he told me.
Well, a question for both of you guys. What have you seen as far as Trey Spivey's growth and how he's really become a leader?
I'm going first? Yeah, you. From a young guy looking up, Trey is definitely like stepped into that leader role because it's the second year in the offense, so he's really like understanding it now. Like he's getting a better grasp of it. So he's able to help like me, you know what I'm saying, Isaiah, Jet, RJ, like the younger players, like speak up and be that player that we want to be because he obviously did it over the past year. So at that point, he's being a better leader this year, I would say.
Yeah, I say to that, just second year in the system, I think he's really done a great job learning it more. And then with that, he's able to play with even more confidence. So once you put his skill matched up with now his knowledge of the playbook and that confidence to play without having to second guess anything, you really see another jump he's made. And like they said, in the meeting room and stuff, he's become more vocal, bringing the guys together more. I think he's took a giant leap in that regard, so that's great to see.
Lindsay and then Jason.
Giovanni, this time last year you were in a much different position, kind of battling through injury. How's your mindset different heading into this season?
Same mindset, just straight growth. I know I'm not the best player I could be right now, and I know there's a big room for growth that I can have. So it's just keep my head down and keep going. I got a lot to grow in, so just keep going.
Jason and Justin.
Fraser, you kind of touched on it before, but second year of the offense, how much smoother do you think this spring is going in terms of what you're doing offensively as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's clicking, especially with the guys who kind of second year in the system. You're more comfortable, so you're able to just fly around. Now you know what's happening. You kind of understand like what's expected now because you had a whole season behind it. For the people who are here, you have, we say don't look back too much on last year, because last year is last year. But you have that foundation. You don't have to start from square one. You start a little higher. So now we already, starting ahead a little bit, and we get to work on that going forward. So I feel like that's been a huge advantage for us. We already know what's going on, so now we just playing the game within the game. You know what I'm saying?
Justin, another question for both you guys. Adding the transfers, how have they complemented you guys and your skill set, and how do you think this group can come together and take the offense to another level?
Well, the transfers are great. J-Ro, DJ, and Rodney are great people. So me and Rodney play the same position right now. We're both in the A's, and then J-Ro moves from X and Z, and then DJ is also X and Z. So I'm really more with Rodney, but me and Rodney, I would say we're the best duo in the country right now. Off rip, I think we both, we complement each other's game. We're both fast, but he gonna hate this. I think I'm a little faster than Rodney, so I think I play a little faster. But Rodney's definitely a smooth player. He's smooth. He knows he's smart, so he's definitely like a compliment to how we play. And then Jet too. Jet's also like a young, fast guy, could up there with us too with the ability to play.
I've heard, Rodney is a little bit similar to like Luke Weissong in the sense that he's very fast, but can do a little bit of everything. Can you describe just his skill set?
Yeah, even off the field, I think Rodney and Luke are like the same person, bro. Goofy kid, just like to have fun and joke around and stuff. But yeah, I would say Luke and Rodney do play a little similar on the field. They're both like technical receivers. Like they know how to do it and they get it done the right way. You know what I'm saying? They don't really they have their own swag to it, but it's the right swag to keep it in the path of how it's supposed to be done, if that makes sense.
Any more questions? A couple more,
You said Giovanni, Italian background? Right?
Yeah, my mom's Italian.
Okay. Do you guys have any like Italian traditions or things?
Nah, not really. Well, yeah, not that I know of. Probably my mom.
Sure.
But yeah, no. But she grew up in Des Plaines, so it's in Illinois. So it's not really that much Italian people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, we've heard quite a bit about your maturity and just kind of how you carry yourself. Where does that come from?
I would really just say my family. I've always, I'm the younger brother. I got 2 older brothers, so I've always I always say I just had to have a whole bunch of confidence and always carry myself to be better than what I know I can be. So even with my older brothers, the competition and stuff is just, I would always tell everybody I'm the best brother, I'm the best athletic brother. So my confidence was always through the roof. And then getting here was just okay, it's college football. I'm a grown man. I live by myself, all that. I just got to start acting like it. And then, I still joke around, still be a kid and all that. So I would say I just carry myself the same way I've always done it since I was young, just with a whole bunch of confidence.
How has Coach Wade helped you as a receiver? And personality-wise, are you guys very similar in a lot of ways?
Yeah, he says that. I don't know why. I think I think it's just because we're both light-skinned, to be honest. To be truly honest, I think we're just both light-skinned, so he says that, and we're both from the Phoenix area, so he says we have a lot in common. But no, he's definitely helped because we've had those talks where it's okay, so second year, the second year is always the biggest leap. So he said, you know what I'm saying, I just expected for that big step this year, and hopefully I'll take it.
And then a couple more. Chris, what's your assessment of Gio and how he's performed over the last year?
I think the biggest thing I'll say is the maturity and confidence level. Him kind of missing last spring because of his injury. I always said him and Mizell always had that. They were kind of ones that kept me young. They always would say something, a snarky remark or something, just to push the competition. Oh, all right, I bet I could run this route better. I bet I could do this better. But when he started kind of coming in and playing in the fall, during fall camp, you could tell, you saw burst of what he could do, but I feel like the confidence wasn't fully there yet. That was his first breath of college football. And then you kind of saw it during the season last year as it went on more and more. That confidence just grew and grew. And obviously, once the confidence confidence grew in himself, it grew in the coaches, it grew in the players. And that's why you saw him on the field way more and then making big-time plays after big-time plays. And I feel like probably him just seeing that himself and obviously us as a group seeing that, he's just carried that throughout the offseason. Now he's pushing himself in all the runs we do and all the conditioning we do. And then when we were doing just routes with the quarterback, Noah, he's pushing himself during that. And then coming into spring ball now, he's really, I say his maturity at his point, just being barely a second-year player, is pretty remarkable to see, and especially his growth from last year. So seeing that, I think that's one of the biggest compliments I could give him, and compliments as a player.
And last one for both of you guys. There's a lot of defensive backs that have been added to the group. What do you guys think about just those guys, and then who are one or two guys that you guys are often paired up with in one-on-one drills and everything?
For me, the two I would say that like really like showed, well not showed, they all could ball, but like all like turned our head like, okay, he could really go. Malcolm Hartzog from Nebraska, he's like that. He's strong, fast, all like everything you need to play his position he has. And then Matai, he played linebacker at USC, and then they converted him to a safety. He's also, that man, he's good. He could come down, he could hit, he could cover, and when he get a better understanding of the defense and all that, he's going to be a good player here.
Yeah, and corners-wise, guys on the outside, I think they all could ball. Guys like Boodle, I feel like he stepped up, into a big role, but just being a physical guy. You could tell, I think he's running a similar system to what, Coach G trying to do here. So he seems like he's more comfortable in the system right now. I feel like that's a guy I go against a lot. Tyrese, he's gotten better from like just the first few practices here. I think he's getting a little more comfortable. But besides that, I think all the guys can ball. Even the young guys like Zaire, he's, just trying to get his foot in there. So I think, pretty much all the corners, like you'll probably see most of all of them this year, at least starting off right now. So I think they're showing a good little something so far.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys.